Well, here we are with the Panzer I, which is one of my favourite tanks because it's just so ahead of the game, really. Pre-war and used into the Second World War, the German sort of hierarchy had no real faith in it by the time the war broke out, but then they didn't feel ready for a war at that point, one way or the other. So here's a kind of stopgap tank that just put all the others in the shade, in my opinion, design-wise. The Germans were impressed by two French designs, but this really was leading the way. So here's the model, Italeri 132nd. I guarantee it was done by a different company years and years ago. I think they've taken up the mould. Well, maybe it was them and they've just smartened it up, retooled it and so on. Let's see if I can single-handedly open the box. I'm getting the hang of this now, aren't I? I'm always frustrated by a box that's too big for the parts. The initial, that tiny level of disappointment is multiplied a millionfold, almost literally, by single part track on the whole. There's a few straight bits, but not many. Just how tedious is that? I've heard about these. I've talked to people and they've mentioned them, and a lot of people love them. I'll be honest, the teenager in me just sees it as a very, very tedious process. The other thing is it demands an awful lot of accuracy, and I don't know that I'm that far down the path yet. And I don't think it's a particularly inventive way of producing a quality track shape. Occasionally, I think Italeri and Revell come up with sort of sections of track shaped in hard plastic, and I like that. I think that gives character and so on. You know, the track appears to have weight and that kind of thing, but getting that accurately on this, I think, is going to be taxing for me at least. Here's the good side. This is the model that I made. I know that through this character. I suppose he's the tank commander, but he's standing beside the tank in very early gear with the big floppy beret. Don't know if that's noticeable. And the big overcoat. I remember him distinctly because I couldn't think of anything to do with him. He's such a boring fella. But he's now going to go in a diorama, probably with the... Well, I say a diorama, I'm promising myself I'm going to do it. You never know, I might. But anyway, a bunch of early vehicles at the coast of Dunkirk when Rommel pushed on further than he should have. And very proudly, there's going to be a Panzer I, quite clearly. And he's going to be standing out there, looking over the coast with a bunch of other commanders. That's the dream, anyway. Meanwhile, let's have one quick look at the instructions. Oh, we've got all sorts here. Look at this. I've got that, whatever that is. Radiator grill, for want of a better phrase. And a big piece of card. Lots of markings. I'll work out what I want later. They obviously go over a projection, which is probably a vision hatch, for want of a better phrase, and that appears to do the same. And as I've said before, with Italeri, very big, very clear instructions. You can't knock a good set of instructions, can you? And here we are with, what do you get? 7th Panzer Division, 25th Panzer Regiment 1, Battalion Headquarters Company, France, May 1940. That'll be the one I'll be doing then. Very interesting. Look, the 3s are reversed. What does that mean? Somebody will, with knowledge of the Bible, will tell me it's something to do with Satan, I'm sure. So, there it is. Going to be grey, obviously. I'm going to do it a dark grey, a dark bluey grey, and I'm looking forward to that. Right, well, here's the wheels. I mean, the wheels are dull enough. Talk about the tracks. One of the negatives about a tank are the many wheels, and I've broken one already. You can see snapped bit on the suspension on the other side. So this is what it should look like. And well, so eventually, with a lot of the power of glue, all of these things have found themselves on the bottom of the hull, where they belong. Very interesting. Another early characteristic is all the suspension, very complex as well. And there's the hull top, a neat little shape, and it's got that massive side hatch which several British tanks have as well. Seems to me the best way to do these terrible things is to do them in strips of different sizes and then glue them together appropriately. Yeah, one way or the other is still pretty tedious, and I don't know that I've got enough to go round because I'm making a right mess, and I may have compressed them too much. So at the moment I'm leaving a gap at the bottom, and maybe I'll have to put a lot of mud on it. And look, I got so into it and so carried away that I forgot to put these in, and that really would have made things a lot easier, wouldn't it? Bit late now. And then I lost a load of shots, so all of a sudden it's built. It hasn't had the markings on or any extra weathering, but unfortunately we lost that. Anyway, outside, just to get a bit of good light on it and to see it in context, there it is. It's a good model, actually, tracks aside. Everything went together rather nicely, apart from me breaking the wheels early on, and it's come out looking okay. This is a good model. I would recommend it. It's also a good tank for its era, and it shows up a lot of the British design, that kind of thing, the kind of stuff I always moan about. Here is a nice, low profile, not quite going to say sleek, but you know, low profile tank with a very sort of usable turret. It's not a high, bulky, funny little tank like the Vickers one that I made, probably third or fourth film in all this. Anyway, this one is low, it's got a good centre of gravity, and the turret really is, you know, the kind of thing you need. Not too big and easy to turn. Here we are now with some markings and with a little extra weathering. So I think pretty much we're done. And it looks alright in my opinion, in my humble opinion. Anyway, I had a quick look at some details on the tank, and it was went into production in 1934. Not this model, that was the A, this is the B. But 1934, that's pretty good. And there's some footage of these being used in a, not exactly training, in a kind of display. And they did half motor. So it's, I'm always impressed by it. This is the future. This is how things are going to go. All of the odd experiments that are going on, the British coming up with things with very, very long wheelbases, not wheelbase, sort of from front to back, so they can cross trenches. The Germans aren't thinking in those terms anymore. And the British ones look more like ships, and they got multiple turrets on, which is quite fun. I have to see if I can get hold of any of those. But here we are instead going for speed, a small target to hit, and like the Vickers one, this is basically, it's a mobile machine gun post, which I think is very clever. All of that kind of thing went out in the end. I mean, it's alright saying it went out, but it kind of, that role went over to armoured cars in some respect. Ones with machine guns mounted, that is. But yeah, this is the future. I like it. I'm impressed. And very shortly, I'll move on to the Panzer II, which again is low, fast, a small target, and fulfilling a sort of infantry support role. And and that's great, but I can tell you now, I've made it, and we're just going to see a little bit of it very shortly with its chum, with its brother here, the Panzer 1. They're both, you can see the Panzer 2's the development out of this one. They've both got the sort of asymmetrical design where the turret's over to one side, and I think they work really well. I'd have been impressed, you know, in the 30s seeing this kind of thing, and I'd have thought, crikey, what are they up to? So this gets a thumbs up all round. So there they are, two little brothers side by side. You know what I'm going to say now? I'm going to say that's it, the end, and thank you for watching. Do come back for more. I'm not sure, I might be able to squeeze an aircraft in. If not, we'll go for that Panzer 2. So thanks a lot. That sounds bad, doesn't it? Thanks a lot. So thank you very much for coming along and having a look, and I'll see you later.